I put out a documentary in 2020 called The House in Between about a family, or not a family, excuse me, a woman in Mississippi who was about to move out of her house, but to get answers, she locked her house down for 10 years and left it open for study. And I documented that and the stigma that she goes through the town. And luckily, it did really well. I think it was the number one doc of 2020, and did quite well. And we put out a second one, and yeah, I really used science a lot in that. Used physicists, used geophysicists, everyone I could get my hands on to get real answers. And if you're into that sort of thing, it also really pokes at the humility of paranormal investigating. And I don't mean humility in the sense that we're out doing God's work. I mean the humility in the sense of nobody really understands what it's like to live in a haunted house, to be somebody who lives in a haunted house, and that stigma, I think because of television and because of, shows like Ghost Hunters and movies and movies nowadays, it seems like that's awesome. You live in a haunted house, holy cow, maybe your house will even sell for more nowadays. Isn't that crazy? But realistically, it's not like that. People who live in a real haunted house are dealing with a real haunting. They have a hard time maintaining relationships. They have a hard time maintaining careers and jobs. They have a hard time maintaining friendships. They have a hard time with hygiene. It really encompasses their life, and it changes them, not for the better. And I wanted to showcase sort of that side of it and what she goes through, and how when she, walks through her town, how people sneer at her and people, that's the lady in that creepy house, although she's literally cut from the cloth of angels, like she is one of the best people you could ever imagine, and yet people dare sneer at her. But I told her, I said, when this documentary comes out, if it gets, you're going to have, and sure enough, she's now like a celebrity in the town. But
well, good for her. Hopefully,
yeah,
it helps.
She's a remarkable woman, but I want to just showcase that side of a haunting, that it's not all flowers and roses like they think. It's not a good way to live life. You don't want to live in a haunted house.
Yeah, I think that, there's a bigger message in there. Even just the paranormal investigation community as a whole. I don't speak for anybody or the community or anything like that. It's just my experience. Throughout the years, I've come across a ton of people who've kind of like sought me out for advice, which don't ever seek me out for advice for anything, on how to become a paranormal investigator, because my association with the company and those ghost hunts we used to do. And, it seems like there's a lot of people who are very interested in pursuing this, which I think is great. Like I talked about earlier, I think everybody could use a little bit more curiosity and wanting to explore the unknown. But I think a lot of people jump into this without realizing what they're getting into sometimes, or what it can be. And I know it's not as dramatic as some shows will make it out to be. There's a demon everywhere, all that kind of nonsense. But there is like there could be it's not always fun in games being a paranormal investigator, is it?
There's a lot that goes into it. I think people don't understand. But I'm not, laying bricks. I'm not out there digging trenches to make roadways. I'm not. I'm very, very well taken care. I'm very, very. So I'm not here to say that what we do is difficult, but there's a lot of emotional baggage that comes. A lot of sleepless nights, a lot of waking up with nightmares and full blown crying. It's just, you deal with a lot of death, a lot of turmoil, a lot of things that stick with you, and you don't quite realize that. And then all of a sudden you're super depressed and you start crying. You're like, what is happening? And then you start thinking about it, and you're like, oh my God, I can't stop thinking about that girl. She was only 15. And in her diary, she said that she's ugly and she doesn't want to live anymore. Oh my God. And you think about these things, and it's not fun at all.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's
it's great. Yeah.
Other than that, it's pretty awesome. But you do deal with death a lot. And, I'm not afraid of death. I don't think a lot of paranormal investigators are afraid of death, but I am afraid of what it does to people, and, and
Yeah.
it's very sad. It's very emotional. It's very, it's
Yeah.
a lot. And
Yeah.
it can be, really can be.
Yeah. There's been a couple of those events that have really stuck with me. There was one in particular, as in Trans-Allegheny, which I know you're familiar with.
Yeah, love
And,
it.
I think it was on the third floor. It was where like the children were, how they kind of had it segmented, like, criminally insane over here. But there were families there too. They had, like in the poorhouse part of it, it was where the kids were. And, I was up there, it was, 2, 3 in the morning or something like that. And it was about the time that we had to, vacate the premises for the night. And long story short, we got kids. Like I had my headphones on and I'm listening through, my Roland, and like there's kids and they're talking. And they interacted with us slightly, but at one point, but it wasn't like back and forth. But when I said, all right, guys, it's time for us to go, there were 2 kids that came through very clearly. There was a boy and a girl. And one said, don't go. And the other one said, we're lonely. And being a father, like I broke down in tears. Like, and still to that day, that really bothers me because, if these are, or if ghosts or, the energy, soul, whatever of these little kids, then that means that they still have feelings. They still, want love. They still, have the human side of them without the human body. And now I have to walk away and just leave them. Like that felt really shitty. And it, unless you've been there, not there literally, but in that place, it's just not a good feeling. Like you don't want to leave a kid that just said they're lonely, like don't go, that makes you feel like shit. And that's always bothered me.
Yeah. You can only hope that it's, like that residual type of haunting we all talk about where it's not aware of time and space. This is just, there's no conscious there. There's no real pain, there's no real sorrow. It's just pressing play on a recording.
Yeah.
Nothing attached to it. Let's hope, that's the only thing you can do is say, hey, that's what I'm dealing with here. But if you thought it was a real consciousness there, something that was feeling real sorrow, as a child, you might not leave. You may stay, who knows?
Well, I wanted to. I was because, I was with a couple people and like that, I was literally having that dilemma. I was like, I don't want to go. Like I felt compelled to like I said, I'm a dad. So, I can imagine what that might be like if it was a conscious entity that, was expressing real emotions that it might have been feeling, which I don't know how that would work, but it just didn't feel right. A lot of those times. I mean, I haven't, I don't know. Yeah, I probably have broken down and cried in the middle of the day. I was going to say, maybe I haven't been as deep as you have, but I was like, I remember that time that we're not going to get into right now. I remember that.
The strongest of men are in touch with their emotions, my friend.
Oh, I'm in touch with a lot, Steve.
It's the middle of the day. Even if in the middle of the day.
If you enjoyed this clip from the Ghost City podcast, be sure to check out the full episode right here on the Ghost City Tours YouTube page. Subscribe to our channel for new spooky content every week.